All right,
We're not on the
folks.
speakers out there.
Welcome. We have an interesting in-live party, possibly with a couple cocktails, but two of the homies of homies, Jon Snow, Michael True of Prescient. He will never tell me Mike or Michael.
Tomato, tomato.
Tomato. But we're going to go into some crazy data measurement talks. But yeah, John, take it away.
Yeah, so Mike, just give us a little bit on the background, prior to Prescient, how did it lead up to this?
Absolutely. Before I say that, I just want to say that there's nothing better than sitting here having beers with people you love, people you enjoy being around, people that are your friends, talking about things that we're all passionate about.
And if I may add, my bougie level has been hit. There's a quarter ticket Triceratops artifact out there. There's almost a 2-ticket baseball card, and then I think the Birkin bag's like a half ticket. So I'm very happy. I'm Schmidt. And there's some really cool shoes, some OG Jordans. But
you consider yourself a sneakerhead?
Those are beyond, because weirdly, like collectibles are like a really weird, like you collect what you collect, if that makes sense. And I don't collect shoes. I only collect Jordan 1s and Nike SBs.
Very niche.
And very niche. Like I'll do Dunk highs and Dunk lows, and then just Jordan 1s, Jordan highs, Jordan lows. So those are Jordan 2s out there, but beautiful pair of shoes. But we're not here to talk about shoes, people. We're here to talk about mixed media modeling.
AI. So yeah, AI is a big buzz. A little bit about myself and background is, I've been running the AI street since 2013 when I joined IBM's Watson team, predominantly focused on the healthcare industry.
Yep.
And it's just been a crazy transition to think of never or only in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd be sitting here chatting with you guys talking about machine learning models that, work with D2C brands to help them measure, optimize, and forecast the impact of their investment dollars across their ad channels.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you want the whole deets, we have a whole equation of excellence actually with Mike True on there, the background. But give us the concert story, the impetus story, and then let's jump in because John has some really intriguing, provocative questions that I'd love to hear your answers to.
John and I have had many conversations late at night about AI and going back and forth. But it was an interesting journey to get here. I love music, and I wanted to build a model that I could sell to a record label.
Yep.
And so I said, what if you could predict where artists should tour? Right?
Yep.
So they're going to go to LA and maybe Phoenix, but maybe they have a fan base in Reno.
Yep.
Should they stop in Reno? Well, what venue should they perform at? What local artists should they open up for? And the thought was to kind of put a commerce platform behind that. And then COVID hit.
Yep.
Touring went away.
Yep.
So where does the focus go to? Well, people are going to be in their house. What are they doing? They're going to listen to music.
That's exactly right.
So people are going to continue to put out music. So that was where the focus shifted. I'd ask you guys, how important do you think in the whole measurement space is Google Analytics and having the last click?
I mean, John, you go first and I'll answer because I'll be less eloquent.
Yeah, I mean, it's what most brands have used for a very long time, whether or not it's the right thing to do.
Sure. The interesting thing about the music space, if you think about Spotify and you think about Apple and Pandora, there's no Google Analytics that sits behind Zero, right? So what do you have, right? So Cardi B is going to go promote a song, and the heterogeneity, the randomness, the amount of data that is around an artist like that is tenfold that we would see of a D2C brand, right? Yes. You have her going on the James Corbin show, performing at Coachella, doing Twitter live feeds, and then just your traditional paid media spend to build up the awareness of this album. So the label execs to say, well, when they think about their budgets, it's like, well, how much do we got to spend on paid media? Does it work or does it not work at all?
And where do I spend it?
But we don't have a last click to even give a proxy of that.
Yep.
So there's just a bunch of random noise. There's some earned, there's some paid, and then a bunch of streams happen. In a traditional artist, there's 10 to 15 different streaming platforms that these songs are showing up on. And
if you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Oh, look at that. He's too good looking to have bars like that.
He really is. It makes you feel self-conscious.
Yeah, I know. And for people that don't know, are you still practicing, or you can still practice
dentistry,
right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm still licensed in New York. I could go treat a patient out there on the floor right now with a beer in hand. Yeah, I'm still licensed in New York.
And he's a dentist, and he's just good looking. Unbelievable.
God spent a little more time on you, buddy.
Too much. Let me get a little over here.
And so shout out to my co-founder, Cody. I'm not going to take any of the credit. I set us up with the label for us to go prove it out.
This is
my co-founder,
Carnegie guy,
Cody.
The Carnegie guy, or where'd you
Carnegie
pull him
Mellon is the VP of product.
Oh, okay.
A+ players all day. But Cody was he built Petco's first MMM, and then he was doing probabilistic.
It's mixed media modeling for people at home.
Yeah. And I'll give a little more.
We're going to get into that in a little bit.
But and then he went on to like OkCupid Match and Tinder, and he was looking at how media spend impacts that, LTV of clients. And I would say most notably, he was the global head of research science and AI at Grubhub, where they were trying to predict orders by zip codes in metropolitan cities based off of marketing spend and random events to properly staff their drivers to make sure your food was not cold. So if you've ever had cold food, don't blame me, blame it. But he said to me, he's like, dude, I need 4 months. I'm going to build it from scratch. I'm not going to take a research paper because it would have already been solved by now. And we wouldn't be talking to Warner. And I remember the first back test that we did. So we took Cardi B, all of her old songs, and then it was actually her WAP song. Imagine raising fundraising around all those investors talking about like this WAP song.
Can we hear the song? No,
Can we play this in the background?
No, we can't hear the song.
She goes, and so we took all of the historical songs, and then WAP had already taken place, but we'd call them out of sample or holdout tests.
Yeah.
Where you train on everything before that, and then you use all of the marketing spend and everything that's going on to see if we could predict how the song was going to perform.
Yep.
And we came in at 94% accurate. And it was just him and I, no tech platform, taking screenshots of the outputs of the results. Wow. And then Warner was like, oh shit, like this is something that we would feel confident in thinking about making an optimization decision.
Exactly right.
And we did this for Roddy Ricch, A Boogie, a whole bunch of artists, and we were back testing 94 to 98 to 99% accurate. They gave us a top 200 tracks in real time and was like, okay, we'll forecast these out 28 days. And we came in at 99% accurate predicting these songs. And then the kind of like the final straw was we went back to all of the old songs, and he built another model that said, if we had that same budget on those same channels and our model had spent it, here's how many more incremental streams they would have gotten, right? And so I remember it was February of 2021, Cardi was coming out with her Up song. It's going up and it's up and it's up and it's up. And
see, we're hip.
He calls me.
We know what the kids are listening to.
Shout out to Cardi B, like but he calls me, and I'll never forget the day. He was like, the model's at 97% confident that if they shift their spend from Spotify ads over to YouTube ads, which makes sense because Cardi's a very visual artist, and then a little bit from Facebook over to Snapchat, here's how many incremental streams we think she's going to get over the next 20 days. And I remember I called Paul Sinclair, the GM of Atlantic Records, and I'm like, dude, I had never met Cody at this point, by the way. It's two guys in a digital garage. And I was like, if you're ever going to take a bet on two guys in a digital garage, the time is now.
Yes.
And they took it. And we ended up predicting her #1 Billboard at 96.3% accurate. And the catalyst here to kind of wrap this whole thing up was we could have just exited the company with Warner or whatever record right there and there on the spot. Yeah. But something that I'm sure is going to be familiar with everybody who's listening to this, if you're a marketer in whatever industry is, there was this thing that happened on April 26th of 2021.
I think we all know what that is.
That's correct. I mean,
the day that lives in infamy.
My previous company, like, dude, nobody wanted another dashboard. And like, we were doing well, but once ATT hit, dude, attribute, like it's
that triple pixel, that wait list. I remember I was on that wait list myself.
Exactly, the discs and everything. It's so easy to sell to people when they have a problem. Like I think of things in problem aware, solution aware, product aware. Sure. And like when people already know they have a problem and they are like they're looking for a solution, getting them to be like, "Hey, we are the solution." It
sells itself.
It sells itself.
When people have pain, dude, they'll pay.
They'll pay. And it's like I always say this internally. It's like you meet people where the puck's going to go. Yeah. Right. And so you saw Triple World, like. Kudos.
Hockey references when you're in Miami? What are you doing here?
Listen,
what are you doing? I grew up better than this.
I grew up in Maine.
How did we not get into that?
I don't know. Listen, man, the last pod went by too fast, man. We're going to spend more time together.
Unbelievable. So this is your world then, Northeast.
Yeah,
we're out here in NYC.
Up in the home territory. But it's like Triple. I mean, you guys were the epitome of meeting someone the puck's going to go.
Yes.
There's like this fear sale, right?
That's a bar.
You capitalize on it.
But if you don't have the product to solve that,
then
everyone's churning. You're going to have the hockey stick growth and then churn. You're just going to reverse
die on the hill
Yeah.
about it. And listen, I don't think that and we'll get more into this MTA, MMM things. It was I think that there was a lot of hype and fear around where can we latch onto at this time to at least just feel a little bit more confident when I'm going to show up to work every day and I'm going to make a bet on where I'm going to spend the dollars that I can just feel a little bit more confident. And I think that point in time, it was the right play to go do that. But the internet, the privacy world, the way people think about measurement, it was a force feed to think about other forms of measurement and other forms of triangulation of data.
Yeah. So if it wasn't for iOS 14, Prescient wouldn't even be in the e-com space right now.
It was funny. We talked to Pfizer, we talked to Paramount Pictures, because a model can work across, and if you want to optimize for, bookings on Priceline or credit card signups for MasterCard.
Dude, insurance is fucking massive. You know what the top, I don't know if it's now, but I'm old, but one of the most expensive search terms is asbestos.
Wow.
People are they got asbestos, and these lawyers are bidding thousands of dollars because if somebody has this asbestos stuff and they're going to hire this lawyer to sue the thing.
I remember the TV ads. They
were
cranking.
That's what I'm saying.
Cranking.
That's the canary in the coal mine. And so you're spot on there.
I'm trying to think of that lawyers humming commercial.
That's exactly right, dude. But I mean, so you're so spot on.
It was so honestly, I'm happy that we picked the e-com industry. The exciting part about going from IBM, and I was largely only focused on healthcare for AI for years. Not the sexiest industry of, auto adjudications and, memberships and all the. And
also heavily regulated.
Heavily regulated.
Those are hard industries to break into.
You got to wear a suit when you show up. You're on the plane all the time.
Yeah. For me, when you're in a heavy regulated industry, you get people that can circumvent the system or navigate. I shouldn't say circumvent. They can navigate the system really well, but they can't produce results.
Yeah.
And so government again, not to get political, but government is the same thing where it's these people the best people are just dude, I'm not going to jump through 17 fucking hoops just to get this contract.
You don't have the patience for it.
Versus these other people are oh yeah, I'll meet you, I'll have dinner, I'll do all these things and jump through all these hoops. But then what they can produce is garbage because they're basically contract navigators versus builders like you.
It was. And I think a good story to tie back to John's question is well, why do we go to D2C? I remember we called one of my buddy Cody's friends and was can we have your Shopify data, your GA data? And I think it was Meta, Google, and TikTok. And again, there's no platform here. It's just math and a little Jupyter notebook that produces a result. And we said we needed spend, impressions, clicks, sessions, and revenue.
Okay.
We didn't need any individual IP addresses that a pixel would track. It was just your spend, impressions, clicks, sessions, revenue. And we ran it through the model. Based off of the spend, could we predict the impressions? Yeah. Based off the impressions, could we predict the clicks? Based off the clicks, could we predict the sessions? Based off the sessions, could we predict the revenue? First model came in at 83%.
Not nothing, not great.
Not great, right? Now, it was a kind of a new data set that it went into. And then Cody had built the model where it was well, what if we did this on the campaign level, right?
Yes.
Which is theoretically a more difficult challenge, right? Yep. Versus doing it at a channel level, which you'll traditionally see in the market today. And he works in jigsaw magic. And it wasn't a huge jump from 83. It went up to 89%. And that was
closer.
It was closer, right? I'd call state of the art forecasting is 90% or above. And we just released our last forecasting model. We predicted this brand's revenue for 3 months out at 99.1% accurate. And now we're starting to see 95% and above. But that's just
video game numbers.
It's video game numbers. And it's 4 years later, a bunch of research scientists, the models are going to get more sophisticated. We talk to people like John. We talk to people like yourself. We talk to the brands. And the more that you get the knowledge of how to inform the model, because the model is only going to see what it sees in the data, but you can tell the model some sort of human intuition, human element of how things should behave. And then it just starts to get learning, get smarter.
So I just want to bring it back to here for everyone that doesn't know who Prescient is.
Sure,
right? Prescient should be known by now.
Sometimes.
We're just sending it, people.
In simple terms, what does Prescient do?
Prescient is a solution that is going to help you measure channels like TikTok and TV and influencers and podcasts and direct mail, your top of funnel measurement. It's going to give you a pulse of what is the impact of your top of funnel measurement on the bottom of the funnel. So all of the marketers here, I'm assuming, feels that last click takes too much credit, right? So imagine, I was on the phone with a client yesterday. They had a 50x ROAS in one of their searches, right? Our model said, hey, it only deserves a 10 ROAS. So there's 40 left because something must have drove them there, right? And so we will redistribute that credit to the top of the funnel and say, hey, here's the impact of your TikTok spend on Shopify, but there's also a halo effect on top of Amazon as well. And so now you get clarity and line of sight is how is my paid media spend impacting your D2C store as well as your Amazon store. So that's our first model. The second model is more of an optimization model. If you spend $2 and you make $10, you can't expect to spend $2 million and make $10 million. Eventually, you're going to find points of diminishing returns.
Saturation.
So 100%. So the second model will identify the exact point of saturation, at the individual campaign level, and tell you exactly how you should reallocate that spend based on a confidence score and predicted outcomes, ROAS, CAC, revenue, which sounds eerily similar to saying, hey, if you shift your spend, here's how many more streams you're going to get on Spotify to Shopify.
Absolutely. So the things you just mentioned, click, no clicks. Now we're talking about the difference between MMM and MTA, multi-touch attribution. Take us through just the main difference. Prescient's an MMM, right?
Yep.
And differs from, the attribution solutions that everyone probably knows of, the triple whales of the world, the North Beams, right? So tell us the difference.
Yeah, I would say, I'm going to do the mom test. How do I explain to my mom what an MMM is?
I love this.
In 1962, a guy named James MacArthur came out with price, point, promotion, and product, right? It's the 4 Ps of marketing. And that was the origination.
Dude, I'm a 2-time CMO, and I never knew that. I feel so small right now. Too much David Ogilvy. Just brand and print, make the money printer go purr,
There you go. Amen.
I don't need the 4 Ps.
Mark those words down.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
So the question is back in the 60s, you have, call it a beer company that's going to sell things in a box store. You have a billboard, you have a radio, you have a TV, you have a newspaper, and some catalogs, call it.
Yep.
Can you track any of those to the individual user? Can you say somebody saw this billboard and they went in and they bought a Stella?
Yeah.
You can't. It's
statistically
impossible. So what did they do, right? They took the spend and the data points that they had related to how many households was this newspaper delivered to? What was the demographics of these households?
Yes.
How many people are going to see this billboard in what vicinity of the box store is this billboard, right? And they would run these models to help people who sell the beer identify where they should double down on which channels they should spend. So then what happened in the 80s and 90s? The internet came out.
Correct.
And the internet was like, fuck it. You can track anybody from any device to anywhere. So you had a really nice click-based journey of this user saw this ad, clicked this ad, did this ad, and then converted. Yep. And so now you could do like an individual user level CAC. You could do blended ROAS. Yes. It was this beautiful place to exist.
Yes.
And then what happens? 2013, Mozilla was like, cookies are gone.
Yeah.
Shortly after, Firefox was like, Safari was like, cookies are gone.
Yes.
Right? And then what happened? Apple and Google. So iOS 14.5, Apple can say anything. I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot here at some point, but like Apple can say whatever the fuck they want and Google say what they want. They are weaponizing data privacy to take advertising market share, right?
Of course, that's what Apple's doing.
It's more Apple than Google. Google's just following along.
Exactly.
Where Apple's like, dude, if you want to be a rich person and you don't want a green bubble and you don't want to be tracked, buy an iPhone.
For sure. And they did such a good marketing plan. But when you saw iOS 14.5 come out, what did Google come out with? Google One VPN. It's the same fucking thing. And so the problem now is like, shit, we can't track people across the internet anymore. And then the Pixel comes out for what you guys made the right move on the right time, where the bet that we made was like, the Pixel is going to become less reliable. So I remember talking to one of our clients was like, dude, the Pixel is covering 70% of... We could explain 70% of our conversions deterministically of people matching an IP address from the clicks down to the conversion through GA. 2 years later, they're explaining 20% of their conversions. So there's just like this big gap of like, well, what is going on with the other 80?
It came from this gorgeous rally event that we're throwing.
It could have done
a demo for MacConference.com.
It was shout out to the folks over at Cozy Earth, right? Like Oprah said, Cozy Earth is my favorite sheets. Dude, when we saw that, the their explained revenue was like 180%. Everybody started taking a whole bunch of credit.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Our
Google
models were
ROAS
like,
went up,
we didn't even
Facebook,
budge. We were like, there's an anomaly here.
Yes.
And so I would say the difference of tying it all back together, an MTA is going to do a really good job.
Multi-touch attribution.
Multi-touch attribution is, hey, if you're a brand $1 to $10 million and you're on Meta and Google, Triple Whale and Northbeam are going to, no shade to anybody. Triple Whale and Northbeam, Rockerbox. I just met Ron from Rockerbox.
Powerful Rockerbox, the OGs.
I love, dude. Ron is
great
such
people,
great humans, man.
Won't say anything about the product. Great people.
I want to understand with the audience that I'm building up and my initial customers, like what is their click-based journey, right?
Yes.
But when brands are ready, they found product market fit, they have their CRO down, they have a great agency like the Snow Agency that's helping PR,
Powerful,
creative, and now it's like, oh, I need to go expand into new channels.
Correct.
But these channels like YouTube and TikTok and Snapchat and influencers and connected TV,
person, whatever.
People aren't clicking that shit.
Correct.
They're seeing it. And what they're going to go search, they're going to go to the website, right? And so the difference between an MTA and an MMM is one is deterministic. It's looking for tangible evidence. What an MMM is doing is looking for statistical relationships between your spend across all of your channels and your revenue. So it's not saying, hey, Jon Snow saw this campaign, went through and clicked it. We're saying 1 million Jon Snows saw this campaign, and probabilistically of the 1 million people who saw it, 200,000 of them went and searched and then converted from there. So that campaign deserves some of the credit.
So I just actually did. It's so funny when you start walking. Like I'm going a little hippy dippy. I do have a 200-pound amethyst in my bedroom. Michael knows it, or not my living room. Excuse me.
It's the background.
He
of my
knows
phone.
this. Yeah. But I just had Eric Seufert on, who is very mobile dev memo, just balls deep in the analytics, and this is his thesis where deterministic attribution is going to go away because there's so much incentive for everybody to smash the privacy.
Right.
And so probabilistic attribution is the path. And so like the too long didn't read, probabilistic attribution is basically just taking a shit ton of data, identifying the patterns, identifying really, really high correlations that start to get into causal significance. Almost like the R gets so high where it's like, dude, this is out of a correlation and starting to get into some really causal stuff. And the beauty of it is, I don't need to know who you are. All I need to know is count who walks the door.
It's
walks through the door
future-proof too, right? Cookies go away.
Well,
Google,
not only is
like,
it future proof, it's fluid.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I can go to Michael and Michael's like, oh yeah, we're updating them. I mean, again, we don't have to get into it because we're bumping them against time. But Michael goes into this great story on the equation of excellence of like his top guy was like, dude, we need to stop. And Michael's like, no. And the top guy was like, yes, give me 2 months and I'm going to make you the most perfect model ever. And Michael's like, no. He's like, yes. And then Michael's like, fuck it. I trust you. Go for it. And now it's just like, dude, there is so little risk and probable. And again, not invested or nothing like this, but this is just my thesis of like, I just think deterministic is just going to go away. And then the other thing is because you quasi play at market like we do at Fermat, where once you have like a swath of data, man, things get so interesting so quickly. And one of the challenges when you get a really sophisticated marketing ecosystem is even in D2C, because it's very linear, right? Awareness, consideration, and conversion. It just gets so hard because you get these halo effects, you get these things that are just really hard to measure. But when you have the probabilistic angles, man, it gets so fascinating so quickly. And like you said, quasi future proof, because like, I can't take anything away from you other than the data that would break your model.
Well, imagine if the ad platforms took away how much you spent, how many people saw it, how many people clicked it, and then how many sessions you had, and then how much money you made. There would be a civil uproar.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the world would shut down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, people experience the world in stories. And one of the things that we realized was like attribution was how people built their stories. And so,
Well said, yeah.
But the thing is, attribution doesn't matter because attribution is really just a function of how I can deploy capital efficiently.
Correct.
Sure.
So if you can tell me how to deploy capital efficiently, then like the value chain or like where the value accrues in the value chain totally shifts where it's like, dude, I don't really care how I deploy it. I need to work on creative. I need to work on angles. I need to work on value props and these things. And then I just let you deploy my money. And like, I don't know, again, like.
Well, here's the most interesting thing that I've seen about Prescient that, you know, the MTAs aren't doing. It's really the recommendation engine, right? So it's, Triple Whale, Northbeam, not, love them, but right, certain situations you're like, all right, that's the data. So what? How do I act on this,
That's
right?
exactly
Do I
right.
turn down budget on this campaign? Do I shift from Facebook to Snapchat or TikTok, right? Prescient with confidence intervals will literally historically look at all your data, look at your saturation curves and say, hey, turn up budget 30% on this ad set, turn down budget 20% on this ad set, or hell, move 50% of your budget from Facebook to TikTok, and you're going to get X amount lift in return on ad spend or, revenue, whatever you're looking for, profitability, right?
Yeah.
With 90% plus confidence intervals, right? So now the media buyer has a co-pilot based on data. No human could run those math models,
and
in real time.
For me, for the media buyer, dude, it's almost like a certain aspect of like, I think the pendulum is shifting back to like being real marketers again.
Yeah.
There was just a certain point where you could just pull so many levers and like turn so many knobs in Facebook marketing and ads
day trading in the ad platform.
I'm going to day trade. I'm going to put a cost cap and then put a $100,000 budget here and there.
Yeah.
And like, dude, just eradicate all that and just get back to like, dude, what's the job to be done?
What's the value
funnel?
prop? What's the creative? What app do I need?
Proper marketing, David Ogilvy style, where it's just like, dude, all I want to do is speak to somebody's emotions and get them to give me money because I'm going to make their life better. I'm going to make their spouse think they're so smart. I'm going to make their friends think that they're the coolest people ever. And so I don't know. I personally think it's a great swing back, but because personally for me, deterministic attribution is an asymptote. Like there's just no way to get it perfect. Like if I tell you about firmoutcommerce.com and you go book a demo, Michael, like how the fuck am I going to attribute that? Like, where did it come from? Did it come from this event? Did it, you know what I mean? And like, to be fair, B2B SaaS, because I've been in D2C and B2B SaaS is like attribution on super expert God tier. Yeah. And so like, whenever you're ready for B2B SaaS, come to me, man. Cause I'm so like, that's the hardest thing of a B2B SaaS CMO is attribution. Where D2C, it's hard, but like, it's not, again, like we talked about linear to like, B2B SaaS is this like pinball machine. You came to an event, you subscribed to a newsletter, you came on the podcast, you did this, you
saw LinkedIn, whatever.
Right.
It's
there's a million touch points.
And then you get into the attribution question of like, okay, is it first touch? Is it somebody that told them about the party? Is it last touch? Is it the person that got them to the party? Is it, and so anyways, I'm down in the weeds now, but I'm very bullish on deterministic attribution because
Probabilistic,
excuse me. Jesus. I need, need another Stella or a less Stella.
Yeah, exactly. It's ingrained in his head.
Come on, Triple Whale. Let me get them shares out. No, but I mean, I don't know. I'm so bullish on it. And like my AI thesis, and not to rant here, but like my AI thesis is threefold where first you need the land, aka the data, right? Then the second, you need the frameworks. You need the models to overlay on said data. And then the third part is the refinement. So like if you think of it like oil, I have an oil field, I can extract the data out because I have the oil field. Then what drill do I use? Am I fracking? Am I deep sea? Whatever. But the third part is so important. This is what I think you guys do so well. Is business impact. And so the way that analogizes is refinement. So I'm taking this crude oil into petrol or gasoline, and now I can sell it and make a bunch of money. And I think those three things, like you guys are nailing it. And if you have the data and I come to you and you give me the model and then you show me how to make business impact, dude, I think those are the best AI companies.
We're running close on time here, but I want to really talk about halo effects. Please. Because I think that's a huge differentiator, a huge weakness.
Yes.
There we go. Huge weakness of deterministic. You can't measure halo effect of, let's say, there's so many brands that are probably listening that have this exact pain point. You're running a ton of Facebook ads, TikTok ads, directly to what? You're either your Facebook shop, your TikTok shop, or your Shopify website.
Come on.
But let's say,
get in there, John.
That's Shopify. That's a Shopify. Still a Shopify subdomain. So I covered you. You're running all this paid media to all these channels that you own, right? But like you happen to have an Amazon listing, or hell, you might be on Target.com, Walmart.com. You might even be in retail, right? But your effects of digital that are driving directly to your website, you're never going to measure, but there will be a lift on your Amazon channels, on your retail sales, on every other marketplace that you're on, just because of the brand awareness you're generating, but you might not have an idea how to measure it because deterministically, there's no real way. So Prescient just came out recently with halo effects on Amazon sales for people running paid media to their website, right? And then I want to talk about retail, which is coming next. So first, get into Amazon.
So you hit that spot on. Is when I see an ad, I'm an Amazon guy. I'll go to, is there a Prime deal? Right. So the whole thing with halo effects
You got money. What do you do? What do you get out of here? You can take the boy out of Maine, but not the Maine out of the boy.
Exactly.
Well, the funding goes to the business. I don't get
One day.
Congrats on the A, by the way. Congrats on the A.
Oh, thank you so much. No, shout out to. I mean, we went from 11 to just under 30 in the last 2.5 months with some of the most happy people build great products, and that's why we've been able to recruit such top talent. But back to your point is, when you see an awareness of something where you're made aware of something, right?
Yes.
And when you have an omni-channel brand, right, there's going to be points where every human is different, right? It'd be a boring world if we're all the same. Some people are going to see it and they're going to say, well, it's a high ticket item. I'm not ready to buy it yet, right? And they see it enough, and then I'm going to go search it, and I'm going to go to their website, and then I'm going to convert.
Yes.
Some people might go to Amazon. And so we've been able to do at the individual campaign level, you could you could click a campaign and say, hey, this TikTok, prospecting campaign drove $150,000 over the last 14 days to my Shopify store.
Yes.
But there was a halo effect that drove $80,000 to my Amazon store. We have a large cookware client, and we're looking at the connected TV on it. The connected TV was 70% to Amazon, which kind of makes sense. You're sitting there watching TV, you're on your computer. And
for people at home, connected TV is different than over the air.
Connected TV, there's connected TV and linear, right?
And linear is over the air,
so
OTT.
It's
linear,
100%.
OTT, 100%.
And so, you have your mountains, your Tatari, your Tenuity, so on and so forth. And then so it just gives clarity, a little line of sight into hey, my entire media mix is having an impact across these channels.
I was a big DR guy because I came from D2C. As I got into SaaS, I realized SaaS, or especially high ticket SaaS, is closer to CPG
100%.
than it is direct response.
Yeah.
And so this halo effect is a real thing. So to give people an example, we have really, really high quality leads that are booking demos for events that we did 3 months ago, 2 months ago. And dude, I'm not Pinterest where I'm looking at a 365 fucking shout out though. They lost me a bunch of money, but they're ripping now. And I'll go into that. But this is something that's so important, especially and again, I think this is why you don't play down market yet, because if you don't have a super, you can get to 10, 20, $30 million on Google and Facebook or on Meta.
And triple well. I said triple at least 10 deals in the last 3 weeks.
You don't need, but once your marketing ecosystem gets super sophisticated, dude, it's just I know this is working. And again, going back to what you said earlier, people experience the world in stories. And as a CMO, I can't go to my boss, John, and say, hey, my gut is telling me that these events are working. Right. But if I had something like Prescient, where it's not only can I tell you these events are working, they're going to invest more because this is what the model shows. That's why I'm so bullish on it, because the halo effect, as you get bigger, is so huge, because you just also get brand spill off. You get the brand, where John posted a thing that popped off, all these things where you can start to find the pressure points where deterministic attribution is at the individual level, which used to be okay, but as that gets eradicated, it used to be okay, but it was never what you're doing, because probabilistic was always going to be better if I had the data. That's the one caveat.
So I want to make this clear too for media buyers that are in the Facebook dashboard, in their Triple Whale or Northbeam dashboards. They would never be able to have return on ad spend show any Amazon impact, right? In the Prescient dashboard, right, it'll show what the platforms are reporting, but it will also take into account your other sales channels like an Amazon and say,
can I share a quick story today?
Your return on ad spend is actually a 3 because of the Amazon lift that you had, effect. So instead of the 2 that these other channels might be reporting. So now you can optimize basically the ecosystem.
Facebook's not seeing what Google's taking last click for, and Google's not saying what Facebook's driving.
This is when you use, so we called it blended ROAS at my agency. Blended ROAS has kind of been perverted in co-op, but basically this was what would happen is you blend all of the what we would call blended ROAS at my agency that I used to work at was all the channels. And then you realize, oh my gosh, all the channels said we made $1,800, but Shopify, the real source of truth, there's $1,000 in Shopify. And so there's because you're in a flow, so I want you to hit it, but there's a funny joke where it's my email marketer quit, now my Facebook ads suck.
Yeah.
Dude, it's all interconnected here. Literally 2 hours ago, I get a Slack message from a recent client of ours, and I know we're running up on time, but I think this is a very telling story. He was like, hey, Snapchat is showing that you got us 1,000 new customers. He's like, but I'm looking in the platform and I'm looking at Northbeam and it's only saying 486,
Yes.
right? So we have this thing before the halo, we have a base revenue, which is a statistical model, which is essentially like if we were to say somebody was to see an ad, to click an ad, just analogous to like what you would see in the platform. And this is the most prime example, right? We're saying, hey, you're right. Northbeam, they're saying, right, for the people that click through and purchase that. But you had, call it number's sake, you had 1 million impressions and you had, it wasn't even close, you had 100,000 clicks. Probabilistically, 9 of those 900,000 people, some of them went and searched you. Some of them went to your website and converted. That's why you're seeing an additional 400 new customers tied to the Snapchat campaign, right? And that is like the epitome of what a halo effect should do. So if I was like put it like a synopsis of like what Prescient is, we're going to tell you what happened yesterday. We're going to tell you what should happen tomorrow based off of what happened tomorrow, based off of what happened yesterday. But then we're going to tell you what could happen tomorrow based off of leveraging diminishing returns, saturation point,
and the recommendations that you're giving.
And the recommendations. That's simple.
How, you know, you went through that bunch of word salad at the beginning. That's the bar.
Yep.
That's the Prescient value pop. That was so
Tell you
good
what happened
in one
yesterday.
sentence.
What happened yesterday, what should happen tomorrow, and what could happen tomorrow.
That's the bar.
If you take our recommendations.
If you take our recommendations.
Yep.
But listen, I want to make this very clear for everybody that's listening to this is like, when we think of sources of truth, your MTA is not your source of truth. Your GA is not your source of truth. The platform is not your source of truth. Incrementality, well, it's getting closer, and MMM is not your source of truth. The source of truth is you. There's the triangulation of data where you're trying to say, well, what is this sort of analytics trying to tell me? And you triangulate that, but the buck stops with you. You know your campaigns, you know your goals, you know your creatives, you know your conversion rates, you know the every Monday morning meetings you're having. Just use these data points in a way to figure out what they're trying to say. But at the end of the day, trust your gut, trust your instincts, and trust like why the art that you've done, take that, leverage us for a little bit of the science that help you can feel a little bit more confident.
Oh, that's a bar. What do you got? We got one more question maybe, or anything we need to wrap up a little bit?
Anything that we didn't touch? Well, one more thing about Halo, also outside of paid media, is influencer. Everyone's running TikTok shop affiliates right now. I think that's the way the future's going.
Take her down the influencer hole. I'm trying to wrap up.
YouTube shopping. Yeah, I mean, this might be another 30-minute pod. This is super interesting for me because like now YouTube shopping came out. YouTube has their affiliate marketplace integration with Shopify was released last week.
Too, you're like a TikTok guru.
Yeah, this is a G right here.
You see
there are Halo effects. Like Tarte Cosmetics is a massive brand, right? They said that since they launched TikTok Shop, their retail sales triple-digit halo effect on retail sales, right? So nothing. And they have zero ad spend, right? So like, what is the effect, halo effect of like influencers on TikTok or Instagram or a YouTube? You can now measure the effect on the whole ecosystem.
When I would shout out to the boys over at HexClad. They do Gordon Ramsay drops.
J-Pan, Connor.
I love the boys.
Any tentpole event.
J-Pan is my favorite.
Anything that happens, dude. Yeah, but we had first met him on an 18-hole track. It was
wonderful. He can fucking golf,
dude. He's been shout out to Jason. He's been playing 8 months. Or when I played, it was like
golf.
8 months. Wow.
Dude, he played. He played a serious time.
Coolest guy.
On that, we're gonna have our third Prescient AI Commerce Cup. We just selected the date.
That you subbed me into. You son of a bitch. That's a whole other story for a whole other day.
We gotta wrap this.
Yes, okay, so influencers, not a lot of folks when they're on these social platforms and they're engaged are going to click a revenue link or some sort of discount code. But the awareness of people seeing that, especially the loyalty tied to that influencers, there is a fundamental halo effect, and we're actually starting to prove this out. Shout out to Brandon Brown from Grin. We identified a 57% increase on top of the value of that influencer campaign. And the last thing is so we're doing D2C Amazon halo effects for marketplaces, but we're going to be searching for 5 to 10 brands. Ideally, if you're on Shopify or Salesforce Commerce Cloud, Amazon, and in retail, we're going to take a few design partners. We're going to heavy R&D to be able to show a halo effect on top of retail. You know a couple. You know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. You know people.
Hey,
brands are omni-channel now.
Face, man. Well, because I mean,
pretty face and nice shoes.
To be fair, like I love Shopify. I think it's amazing, but the challenge with Shopify is like there's only really a handful of stores in that $150, $200 million a year run rate, and so the old not a joke, but one, it's totally what your goal is. Like there's you can make 20. I know people making 20 million a year, and it's 5 people, and they're selling jeans, and the distros are fucking. They can buy the Triceratops head kind of shit.
Yeah, there you go.
But there's once you get really big, dude, it's just
you got to do it.
You got to branch out.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to wrap it up. John, where can people find you? How can they follow you? This time is yours.
Dr. Jonathan Snow. I don't know. Twitter, LinkedIn is where I'm most active.
Twitter's
Got the newsletter now. In the Snow weekly newsletter drops on all things D2C.
And don't join the fantasy league with this guy. He'll just take the money.
I'm 2-0. 2 league champion, D2C dynasty. You had me. I was scared. I didn't want to face the Cowboys.
Cowboys.
And you dropped in the Final Four. I didn't have to meet you in the finals, but you were going to take me down.
I was.
I don't want to see you this year, though.
I was coming from. But the Cowboys would be trash.
Yeah, keep up with the newsletter. I discovered Prescient probably before anyone in the D2C world.
You really did.
I'm on top of my tech and on top of my solutions.
Dude, and you threw that one at me. I was like, what?
I know what's going to blow up before it does, and I identified this guy here pretty early.
We need the snow fund.
Yeah.
Raise like a couple tickets and just start deploying.
That's true.
He would kill it at that.
Yeah, I know how to.
And you're the ICP for it as well, because I think this is a little shout out to hiring. I think it's really important for people to actually know the consumers more than they know the skill.
Yeah.
Like if you know your customer, like you can back into the skills versus like if you have the skills, if you don't know the ICP, and that, I mean, self-proclaimed, but that's why I was so successful at Triple Whale is because I was the ICP.
Sure.
So I was like, dude, this sucks. This is great. And so, okay. Derailed. Michael True, how can people sign up for Prescient? How can they follow you? You totally tumbleweeded your Twitter. You made the public proclamation.
I did.
I called you out. But he's been turning up on LinkedIn a little bit.
Oh, dude, LinkedIn's the path.
I'm going hard.
I don't know. Twitter, LinkedIn.
I love Twitter. Don't get me wrong. It's given me so much. But Twitter is...
Where it's at.
The Twitter's the poor rich people. LinkedIn are the bad boys that move in silence.
True.
LinkedIn are the people that do fucking proper numbers. I know
Yep.
some people that like never tweet and like, dude, I'm buddies with Tyler at fucking Peachy Babies, and that guy's doing fucking numbers, and he says like 3 things.
Dude, I got 100,000 impressions on my LinkedIn the other day. I play them 3 days a week. Reach out. I'll give you my email, mike@prescient-ai.io. We're changing the domain, by the way.
So if you're a big brand, you're in D2C, you're Amazon and retail, you got to hit this guy up looking for 5 design partners. He'll measure your halo effect of all digital on all those channels.
And I would say
I gotta get a hype man like this. Jeez, can you just follow me around?
Yeah.
Listen,
well, we're piloting it right now for Vermont. So
I'll close out by saying this. John's been a dear friend of mine for a long time.
Yeah. Wonderful.
We're both married to Brazilian women, and we do a lot of dinners together. I went to his wedding in Brazil. I recently met Robbie. Let me stay at his house, and I think that's the epitome that I would say of this e-commerce industry. Why I'm happy to be here. There's just like good quality souls, and all the clients that are building these cool products. Like it's just remarkable to see the work you're doing, and I'm honored for the fact that we get to help you guys drive that growth and mission. And go Celtics tonight, baby. Let's
go.
Big night.
I wonder what the score is right now.
I was like,
he realized I'm in Texas, and Cuban's an alma mater. He's from my alma mater. But no, I mean,
thank you guys. I appreciate y'all.
Dude, I totally agree with you.
It's
though.
fun.
Like that's my favorite part about my job is I told myself I was never going to do like early stage CMO, but having daddy money and getting to hang out with the coolest people is the best. Like B2B SaaS people, brilliant, but you can like hear the khakis and like boat shoes. D2C people are just so
raw.
Creative and killers,
passionate.
But you can't do this if you're a D2C company. You don't have the economics, but we do as B2B SaaS people. And so it's like, it's so cool to have daddy money and then hang out with the coolest people. So love all you guys. Follow Mike, sign up for Prescient. Avenue Z, you guys taking clients or no?
Oh yeah.
Okay, Avenue Z, go check them out. How do they get in? How do they check you out?
AvenueZ.com, or just hit me up directly, and I'll bring you right in.
You got the .com.
Oh,
That's a G move.
Yeah.
That's a G move. And then obviously we're firmoutcommerce.com. Book a demo so my boss doesn't fire me. And then we have a great newsletter that goes out every Monday, curated by the indomitable Alexa Kilroy, called The Geometry of Growth. You can sign up right on the website. Any parting words or anything like that? You good? What do you want?
I love y'all. Thank you, and
boom.
Honored to be sitting here next to you.
Oh, you're the best, Michael. What you got? Nothing? That's it?
That's it.
Just a nod?
It's a wrap.
All right. We'll see you folks on the flip. Thanks for joining in. Bye-bye.